Let's move on to the next spot, and that's Broncos, Vikings, Denver, Minnesota. Minnesota opening up at minus 10.5, and that's where they stand. The 5 dimes is hanging the 11.5 as teaser protection. This total is at 39.5. That's what opened at. That's what it's sticking at. Vikings are playing good football. I almost made a move in the futures market on them last night, and I didn't. I think that when we look at the long odds, they're sort of flying under the radar, and I'm curious to hear what you think of a Vikings future look here. Broncos look rejuvenated with Brandon Allen coming off a bye, but Minnesota can cover this. Cousins is playing good football. Broncos, Vikings, Donnie Rightside, and can you touch on Vikings futures?
Yeah, we'll touch on the Vikings future in a moment. But looking at this game overall with Denver and Minnesota, it actually has a little bit of a feel to it. Remember the 19-9 game that they played just a couple weeks ago against the Washington Redskins? Dude, we're a better football team than this. Let's just go out, not make the mistakes, and pull off a victory. Well, they won by 10, but if you win by 10 in this football game, you're not actually going to get the cover. I'm waiting on Minnesota before I bet them or lay the wood because I want them full go on offense. Do I think they can score? Yes, they're having a fantastic season. Kirk Cousins looks rejuvenated. Stephon Diggs, what a nice road victory to go down and beat the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. But now you're going to come back against an elite defense, a top 5 defense in the NFL. It's playing pretty good football in Denver. Now, the question, if you do want to bet Denver and say, hey, it's 10 points, I'll take that with a good defense. Now you got your rookie quarterback going on the road for the first time. This is a dome atmosphere. It's going to be rocking. It's going to be loud. He's going to be rattled. And what do you get out of the offense? I mean, hey, we all know and say, oh, well, they can run the football. Well, they're 14th in the NFL in yards per play on the ground, 28th overall in points, 24th in yards per play. What do you get out of Minnesota? The thing is, if you're going to back the Minnesota Vikings, and I can't fault you for doing it. What don't they do well? They score points. They run the football. They can hit you deep. They play elite level defense. They have a great head coach that schemes. And look at his against the record spread, especially against out of conference type teams that are going to come in and play in Minnesota. It's going to be a stay away game for me, but if I'm leaning early in the week, I'm probably still going to lean towards Minnesota because I don't know if Denver is going to be able to touch 14 points in this game. And if I can't get, around that 14-point range, I'm not going to be able to bet you. Futures on the Vikings. If they come, I mean, honestly, Jimmy, in the NFC, you saw last night, there's a lot of chinks because when you look at the 49ers, that chink in the armor said, hey, maybe Jimmy Garoppolo's not all that he's cracked up to be. And when they start playing elite level defenses, oh my God, you get a pass rush, they start falling down. It's not a bad option because the perfect time to take a future is when you're buying a little bit lower. They're not in first place in the division. So if you were to take a Minnesota Vikings wager, do it now because they're probably going to beat, obviously, the football team this week playing the Denver Broncos. And that's only going to increase or lower your odds, I should say, after that. Now's the time to take the Vikings if you like them.
Yeah, I'm going to take a little bit more time here. Tom Marino says Vikings only shot in the playoffs if they win the division. And they aren't likely to do that. Riku Roxas says Broncos aren't good. Don't be fooled. Ganesh, like in the over in Vikings Denver, says Vikings secondary can be exploited. But by Brandon Allen in his first road game, I'm not sure. Ryan S says Vikings secondary not good. Cousins won't play well when it matters. Tom Marino leaning to the under. Vikings will run a lot to shorten the game against Denver. The under makes sense to me. Is it too low to get under, Donnie? I actually don't think it is because if I would be lying if I started my cap off with you, Jimmy, and say this reminds me of a 19-9 game versus the Washington Redskins. I don't think it's too low for an under. I really don't. I don't either.